Welcome to In Hindsight, where we showcase local New Mexico events and businesses. We talk about the hot topics, and are you the hey-ho? And I am your host, Day. And today we are joined an award-winning and best-selling author.
Cynthia Starr.
Yay! And like always, we have Rito and Octo always joining us. This is amazing. I think like books is like one of those professions that also people romanticize.
Yes.
Because I'm a chef, so people will think like, oh my God, your husband must eat like really good. I mean, he does, but he doesn't eat like, foie gras and
Right.
steak like every week kind of thing.
Right.
And also like TikTok kind of has like the book talk kind of thing.
Yes.
Where it's like
Yes.
blowing and people are putting their books in there and kind of like getting that kind of stuff started out. And I think that's really cool. So like how did you get started? What's your journey?
Oh, well, my journey started when I was very young. Growing up in the 60s, I don't want to date myself, but growing up in the 60s, books, we mostly had black and white TV. There were only a few channels. So as a child, I loved to read, learned to read, and always wanted to be an author because books were my escape. They were my friends. I had a vivid imagination. And so I wrote my first book at 10 years old, actually. So I've been wanting to do it for a really long time. And when Amazon, with the self-publishing world, over the years, I've sent a lot of different things in, never got accepted. And finally, I decided that I'm very impatient. And so I didn't want to wait for that. I wanted to just make things happen myself because I always knew I could do it. And so I just took the plunge, and my oldest brother, backed my first book, sent me the cash with about $1,500. And so I started there, and once I did my first children's book, which I've always been fascinated with picture books, because you're never too old for a picture book.
Yeah.
And so I started there, and once I did that, I was hooked. I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to do it. I loved it, and here I am.
That's so great. And right behind us is actually what started it all, right?
Yes.
And also the series that you have for the Dragonflyers.
Yes.
So tell us, dragons are already cool, and it's the year of the dragon also.
It's the year of the dragon.
Come on, I mean,
Yes.
the year of the dragon, which is amazing. So like how did you started with the story? Have you always had the story in mind, and then
Right.
you decided on it? Like, how did it came about?
Right. Well, I started with the first book called What Color is Your Dragon? I get my creative ideas when I'm outside. It's always been that way for me. I'm an outdoor girl. I'm really earthy. And when I'm out in the open, I was hiking in the foothills here in Albuquerque. And I always am thinking, my imagination's going, and as I'm walking along, you might see on a hill 2 telephone posts, and I see a dragon castle with a golden road leading up to it. So this is how my mind works. It's crazy. It sees things in the clouds, at the sky, all around me, and I daydream as I'm walking along and create. So I was trying to think of a cool book and ideas, and the title, What Color is Your Dragon? Like, if I had a real dragon, or you had a real dragon, what color would it be? So the title came to me, What Color is Your Dragon? And then I just created the story, which started out as in a poetic form, actually, and morphed into, and I worked with a writing coach
Oh, okay.
for 6 months to develop and to get better and to create the best story I possibly could, because in picture books, unless you are the artist and the author, if you're self-published, they're very expensive. To hire a really good artist, and they're worth it, is expensive.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create the best story that I could and get the best artwork that I could, and so I developed the story, then I found the artist, and he did an amazing job. He did the artwork in all of the books, both the cover, not the covers of these, but he did the inside artwork. with the exception of the last book. But otherwise, he was an amazing. And he was starting out, so he was fairly affordable. Yay for me.
Yeah.
And people asked me, did you do the artwork? I said no, but I was smart enough to hire the guy that did. And I'm the creative director. I'm all of that. So I started there, and with What Color's Your Dragon, and then of course I had more of a story to tell. So that led to the second book, The Moonlit Dragon. It takes the same characters. It's like this, like a series. So when I first started it, I didn't know that it would end. I mean, I never knew where it was going to go. I just sort of let the story and
your
everything
imagination
take me. Oh,
literally
yes.
flew.
It's just like,
right?
and you can't stop it. It
Yeah.
just is like, and this and that and the other thing. And so obviously it was much too big of a story, too much for a picture book.
Yeah.
So that's why I morphed into the series.
And I think that's amazing because, like, when you think of, like, because, like, my nephews and my goddaughters, like, and me and my, like, we've always been like you. I've always, like, loved books. I've been reading since I was, like, 3 years old.
Yes.
Started with, like, comic books. I am Asian. So, so, like, that kind of stuff. And it's, like you said, it's just, like, it is interesting because, like, a lot of books now get adapted to movies,
Yes.
right? And some people are, like, very disappointed because, like, oh, it's not quite like, the books and stuff. And most of the time, whenever I have friends that say that, I always tell them, like, well, your imagination is a lot more vivid than
Right.
any,
That's right.
than any AI or FX or anything can do, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, because you're also, when you read a book, it's in your perspective.
That's right.
You see the character as your characters. Like, me and my friends could be reading the same book, and, like, we're not seeing the characters all the same, right? So I think that's why, like, it's so hard. And it's like with picture books, it has to, like, catch you right away.
Yes.
And the fact that it's, like, vivid and it's dragons, and it's like, I mean, as a kid, who doesn't like dragons?
Right.
They're, like, the most mythical thing ever. It's just the coolest thing ever. And it's like, I feel like dragons always exist almost in every culture in some form or another.
Right.
So I think that's really cool. And to, like, have it. I mean, I think, like, it's the thing too. It's just like with children's book, you need it simple enough, right, that they can, like, follow and understand. But you don't want it too simple that they become boring.
Right.
Because most children's book, like, they read it over and over again.
and over and over.
Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, parents beware, because I'm told for the picture books that you may have to read it a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how many times I've read this book to my child?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just like, it really is, like, really cool, because, like I said, with the rise of, like, social media, you have like a lot of, like, side hustles now, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you will have, like, different social media influencers telling you, like, oh, you can, like, sell your own books and you don't even have to write, right? It's like you can just change the cover, or, like,
Right.
They make it like everyone can like
just do it.
Yeah, go to Amazon, and it's like I thought about, like, publishing, and then it's like like the first step in Amazon is like, oh, you have to, like, tailor it to, like, a specific system, and I'm like,
Right.
well, I'm out. It's like, it's not just technology or anything. Like, I think, like I said, like, a lot of people, they just romanticize this thing, and in our culture of, like, the fast
Absolutely.
culture, right? They think, like, oh, I could do this, it's just like it's easy, and it's like, but you also have to think, it's like, how many books are there? Not just, like, in bookstores anymore, but,
Yes.
like, online. It's just like, and now the world is our, in a way, our supermarket, our.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's our department store, it's our
Yes.
mall, because I can literally go to another country and see what kind of books they have, like, written in their own culture. And a lot of, like, authors now too, they translate stuff because it's
Right.
easier now. You can do it now with the help of Google, right? With the help of, like, ChatGPT, and that's what it is. I think I always say there's always that expectations versus reality kind of thing.
Yes.
And with that said, with your experience, like what are like the expectations and reality that a little bit of surprise to you? And also like if some people do want to like do what you do you have any advice for them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, the reality versus the fantasy. And you're right. A lot of people say, oh, I could write a book, or I have an idea for a book, or I could do this. Yes, most everybody does. The difference between someone that actually does it and someone that doesn't, first of all, that's the reality. Is it easy? Certainly, all of the things you just talked about make it easier, but it depends. I think that you have to decide what you want to do. Are you just want to put out one book because you want your family and friends to read it, or do you want to become an author? And do you want to be traditionally published? You know, there's this two sides in publishing. The self-publishing, which is huge now, and the competition it grows every day. The number of books on Amazon, I thought that too. Well, if I just get my book out there, I can market to the whole world, and but there's a lot of other people doing the same thing at the same time.
And you're also fighting the algorithm.
You're fighting the algorithm. So for me, I knew what I always wanted to do. And I knew that I wanted to make a living writing books, that I love it so much that that's who I am and that's what I wanted to do. So I, first of all, made up my mind for that. And then once I started, I realized how much more challenging it was, that you had to learn advertising and the algorithms and marketing and genres and tropes, and it depending on what you're writing in, and you needed to know your market and the covers. And luckily, I'm very creative. I'm also an artist, even though I didn't do the artwork. I directed it. So,
because you have a vision.
I have a vision, and I knew what I wanted, and then I'm imagining, and I'm creating things, and I'm pulling ideas, and then I'm like, yes, I like this. No, I don't like this. Do this. Add this. Don't do this. So if you didn't have that side, if I didn't have that side, I would have to hire somebody to do that part. Luckily, I have that part. So I had the writing, and then I hired the person. So it's much harder. It takes much longer. And my new motto in life is that whatever you're doing, it takes longer and it costs more than you ever imagined. And I think that's the reality of becoming an author. So my advice would be decide what you want to do, where you want to go. If you just want to put out one book, that's different than somebody like myself who's now doing it as a business, that I love it so much that I know that's what I was meant to do.
Yet this is your focus.
This is my, I have my day job because I haven't yet been able to support myself, although it's, I don't, but my goal is to have this as my living, and I do it as a business. And you have to, if you're going to do it as a business and you're going to be serious, you have a couple of different ways you can go. You can do it yourself and hire some people along the way. You can learn it all by yourself, which I'm not tech savvy. I'm more than most people, I would say, in my age group, just because of the work I do and the authorship. But I hire people very strategically to do different parts of it, but I'm the creative director. I'm everything, but I'm directing it all, whether I do it or I hire somebody to do it. So when I start a new book, I think, okay, where is my time best spent and most valuable, and what things can I source out a little bit, and how much is it going to cost me? You could do all that yourself, but the truth is, if you want to become successful, in most cases, you either hire what they call a vanity press, which is where you pay somebody to do these things, or you do it yourself. And so I wanted to do it myself, but I still hire out things like the cover art. If I have any pictures inside, I have somebody that does the formatting for Amazon, because Amazon's very specific. If you get it wrong, you're going to get so frustrated. Like I tried in the beginning, I was like, no, I'm just going to hire somebody that knows how to do it, because I can keep working on my books. So I have a formatter. I hired a beta reader, which was one of the best things I ever did. So I'm always progressing, and I'm always finding things, and if I can do some things myself to save money, I do that. But if it makes more sense, I can hire somebody for $75 to write my description, to write some ad copy, to write my blurb, and then I can refine it and stuff. For me, that's worth it. So it's a tremendous amount of work. If you're going to self-publish and you want to do it, you have a vision, you're going to have to. I hear authors say, well, I just want to write. Well, me too.
But everybody can do that.
But I just want to write too. But if I want my books to get, this far, to be seen, I'm going to have to learn all these things, because when you put it outside of a traditional publisher, and they do it very well, even with the vanity publishers, I've seen several self-published authors that did that, and then I go look at their books because they've hired me to have an hour conversation with them or something to help them learn part of what I've learned the hard way. Learned it all the hard way with my blood, sweat, and money. Is that they're going to publish it, put it out there, but the chances of advertising and making it successful, that's on you. And their books usually sit. They're not priced right. The ads aren't done. There's so many things to learn. So if you want to learn it, you just have to jump in and get connected with people, author groups, different things, and you have to want it worse than anybody else. That's my secret. I don't stop. I just, okay, I learned from this, I go on to that.
But I would say, like, Cynthia, how dare you, right? TikTok and Instagram has told me, and Facebook Reels and YouTube Reels, right? That, like, I can just go to ChatGPT, make my own story, have my AI image generated, and there you go, I'm an author.
Yep, you can, and you are. But who's going to read your book? How are you going to get noticed? You can, but you may become an overnight success and get really lucky. Yay for you.
But BookTok told me I would make 6 figures, Cynthia.
You might. I keep waiting. Thank you very much. But I want a good story. What I decided when I started was that I wanted to be professional. I didn't want it to look like it was homemade, put together, because you can tell those books.
Yeah.
You can. And now, obviously, AI and things have changed it. But I wanted really good quality books that I was proud of, that people would buy year after year after year after year and share and put on their shelves, give to their grandchildren, read to their children, pass them on, inspire them with good stories, good morals, good values. So I teach lessons throughout the books, very important, I believe, lessons, especially for today. Friendship, loyalty, love, all kinds of things. Through the dragons, there's always a story to teach. There's always a teaching in the books, hopefully to make better people, to challenge all of us, even if you're an adult, of learning, lessons through the dragons and the characters, and that, to me, you can't pay to have that done. I mean, AI cannot write like a human being can feel. Can they do a good job? Yeah. I mean, would I ever use parts of it? Perhaps. I'm not against it, but you have to decide what you want to do and who you are. For me, I wanted to create books that were hopefully as good as some of the books I grew up with. Some of the books out there, that's what I wanted. And so that's what I try to do on every single book.
Because you're not just a writer, you're an author.
Exactly.
And that's the thing, like, there is like those difference of, like, skill, and even if you are gifted, and it's like, we can talk about that and play with that.
Right.
But I think, like, that's why the expectation versus reality now with social media, like I said, it's like, they just like tell you, like, oh, this is a good side hustle. You just like, put in your book in Amazon, and it'll fly off, because, people will buy it. It's already in Amazon. Everybody has Amazon, that kind of thing. So I think there is definitely that romanticization about any kind of profession. It just does.
Yes.
But, like, for you to actually, like, I think also with those things, they're not even doing it themselves, right? They're like, it's like a click and bait kind of thing.
Right.
It's a 1-minute video, You know, it's like they're trying to generate as many views as they can,
Right.
but it's not realistic.
It's not realistic. Yeah, I mean, maybe TikTok in the future for things. Right now, I'm just busy writing and writing and writing and writing and writing my next book. So, you know, I put them out there. I do everything I can to give them the best chance possible of success, and then I go on to the next one.
It's great. And speaking of writing and writing and writing, I actually want to delve more to your book. So like, you know, our viewers could, you know how it is. It's just like you kind of have to market it and
Right.
you kind of have a
Oh,
little bit
yes.
story. So you did say that it all started with what color is your dragon?
Yes.
And then how did it jump from this, you know, from here to become a series?
Right,
So-
right. Well, part of it is that I studied what other successful authors were doing, other self-published authors specifically. And what I found that the most successful authors wrote series, because people might find, you know, this book or that book or whatever. So each book sort of sells its, you know, sells the next book. And if you can create a desire for a hungry audience, they want to eat the next one as fast as they can, right?
I mean, that's how we
So
consume media.
That's
now.
how we consume media.
Yeah.
That's what we are. And so I made up my mind once I wrote that one, and the story was much bigger. And that's why I took it into the Moonlit Dragon. And then I took the characters, the same two characters, David and Joe, they're best friends, and I expanded it into my first book, The Dragonflyers, book 1, and I brought in a female, because of course we have to have girls in there. Hello, they ride dragons
It's
too.
2000s, you know what I mean?
Come
Like, come
on.
on, it's the 20s.
Come on. And I wanted really strong female characters, not Disney princesses. Not that there's anything wrong. I love Disney princesses.
It's OG's classic. Yeah.
But I wanted really strong females. And to be quite frank with you, there's diversity as you go through it. It's not just all, you know, Caucasian white kids. Quite frankly, there's not only strong female characters, but I bring in diversity as it goes. As the club, the Dragonflyers, you know, there's all kinds of dragons, all kinds of kids, and the kids, it's a secret club. So it started there. I started very small, so I took the same characters, and the first book, The Dragonflyers 1, is kind of a segue between a picture book and a chapter book. So it's a fabulous way to get, even if they didn't start with What Color's Your Dragon, you could pick it up at the series up at the Dragonflyers book. And early readers that are kind of past picture books, but they're a little intimidated by chapter books, should find it a very easy segue, you know, to start here because it's short. They get a quick payoff. The plots move very quickly. Things happen. It's exciting. It's fun. While, you know, they're learning some really cool things and kind of, you know, touching their heart, hopefully, and get them attached to the characters, get them into the story. And then it goes from there. They're always sort of, you know, working together. They have to work together as a team to face the challenges that come up and the dragons and all the things, it's a classic good versus evil.
I mean, how could
I
you
love
not?
good versus
You know,
evil.
like those tropes work for a reason.
They do.
Right? And that's why, like, I mean, they're kind of stereotypical in some books, you know, it's kind of funny, like the love triangle and kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think that is, like, amazing, though, because, like, we also, like, since, like, I've always been a reader, like, my youngest sister, we're, like, 10 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to, like, bridge the gap of age.
Right.
You know, because I'm a millennial and she's a Gen Z.
Yep.
Right? So, like, to me, like, I tried to, like, find her books that we can bridge together,
Sure.
you know, with the Wizard book, obviously. I don't read it anymore, but, like, it's
Right.
just, like, you know, I would literally buy it and then send it to her because I could read it in a
Right.
day.
Right.
Right? And then the Twilight books, not a big fan of it, but she really loved it.
Sure.
And to just have, like, that conversation is also nice.
Right.
Because, like, when she was, like, younger, I bought her, like, the Junie B. Jones series.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's amazing. Like you said, it's like to bridge the gap
Right.
from, like, the picture book and then chapter books get so overwhelming.
Yes.
Because you started as like, well, this is all pictures, and I have to read all this many, this
Right.
many pages.
Right.
And these are like nice because like you are bridging the gap in between.
Yep.
Because like a lot of kids, they get frustrated with reading because then they feel like, they're behind,
Right.
right?
Right.
So like my goddaughter, she loves reading, but she has dyslexia,
Sure.
which is like the worst thing ever.
Yes.
Right? So like literally whenever I go visit, because my family lives in Charleston, that's where they live too, is that, we go to like the used bookstore and then the other regular bookstores, just to support. And, we will come out with like 30, 40 books,
Oh,
like
yeah.
10 for each of the kiddos, But like, of course, like she learned like different ways to like manage it by the help of the school and her
Right,
mom and
right.
everything. But that's what it is. It's like I feel like you don't want to take away that kind of like privilege, happiness, that kind of,
Right.
because there is a different thing when you read with books. I'm not saying that movies are not great or
Right.
TV shows are not great. I think like I do love consuming all media.
Right.
And like I said, it's just like it also like opens up your imagination, with the books, because like
Right.
I said, it's just
Right.
like each person is different, each child is different.
Yes.
They could
Yes.
be reading the same, Dr. Seuss books, and like but they're all taking it in their own different ways,
Right.
and they're relating to it based on their culture, based on their upbringing, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And like,
Yep.
and like you said, it's just like this. The reason why you did it is because this was your love and passion
Yes.
as a child, right? And it's like I think like most of us, that's what it is. We don't.
Yes.
I mean, movies and TV wasn't that accessible
Right.
till really like now,
Right.
with like our phones and everything. Like you can literally
Right.
have it on the plane, you can have it like you can have it in a park,
Yes.
and that kind of stuff. And I think like it's amazing to have like people, authors like you, to not just like, because like some authors also is like, well, I'm gonna write what I know,
Right.
that kind of thing, right? And the fact that like you are not just like writing a story, you're opening up like this whole world, right? You're
way
creating
to
your
say it.
own universe.
Yes.
And I think like it's amazing because like these things is not in real life. And I'm like, it's like, I mean, it's the same thing that like, I still like most of the books that I read are like young adult fiction, because it is a nice escapism.
Right. Right.
Right? And it's like, it's not that movies or TVs aren't, but like I said, it's just like, it's different with books.
Right.
And the fact that like you didn't just write a story, you made sure that you put it in images. And I think it's like people think it's like, well, it's just an image, right? It's just a picture. Anyone can draw, anyone can make a picture, but to make it make sense,
Yes.
right? And it's like I think like that's what people don't understand, is that it takes more than just like talent. It takes a lot of skills.
It does.
And then, and I think like that's what you said, is like the reality between being just writing something and being an actual author and publishing,
Right.
is that learning what your strengths are, your weaknesses, like, because that's the hardest part, is like giving out some kind of control. And I think
Right.
that's everyone.
Right. Right.
So it's like the fact that like, well, what if like I gave this to someone and they took it with them, or like they do their own thing with it, and that's not what I wanted. And that's hard.
It is. In the beginning, it's harder. What you find and what you learn, first of all, I own all my ISBN numbers, which is the very unique number that every single book in print has, and it stays with that book for the life of that book. So I buy my own ISBN numbers. I don't get mine free from Amazon, so it's mine. And you can pay for copyrights on them, but what you learn is that once you've written that and it's yours, particularly if you have an ISBN number, basically that's your copyright. So if somebody infringes on it, if you own a copyright, you can basically sue them for any damages, but you learn to let go of that, not worry about it. Oh, great. Somebody found my book, put them on eBay, they're selling them. They can't buy them for less than what I'm selling them for, except for maybe there. Great, they're putting my books out there.
Yeah.
So and when you first start, that's kind of your fear, but as you go, that's not my fear at all. Like if somebody likes my dragon so much that they use it for something, great, that's awesome. Obviously, it's different if you're infringing, and I've found lots of things, but I don't worry about them unless it was really big, then I would. But I'm more interested in writing really good quality books, and some cool things about the Dragonflyers books are that there are still pictures in them, black and white pictures in all of them. So as the kids, they still have some pictures to look at. I have all the characters, their dragons, and different things. And then as the books go, they get a little longer, they get a little more intense, and they go for a little bit older age group. So you're 6, depending on how strong a reader are, they have had, readers like 7 years old start the series. If they were really pretentious, maybe, because it's pretty simple, but they'll learn new vocabulary. And then they get harder and more intense, and the stories get longer, but there's still pictures in them all the way through until really middle school. The Dragonflyers 4, which is the 4th book there, it would be very appropriate for middle schoolers. But your middle schoolers could read to your grade schoolers. I think the stories, I've read them to my 6 and 7-year-old grandsons, even as small as 4, they're intrigued. They will sit there on the couch and just listen, and they're like, more, more, more. Mm-hmm. So, as a parent, you read them first, decide, but there's nothing, it's exciting. There's dragons, and, after somebody read this book, some of my reviewers said, well, yeah, but what about a dragon fight? There were no dragon fights. So I'm like, okay, well, we're going to have a dragon fight. So I bring, and so each book, and then we have giants. They go to the land of giants, and I build the world. And there's a map in there so the kids can look at the whole, there's a lot of different dragon kingdoms and rulers of those kingdoms. And there's challenges that they have to meet, and I'm not going to give away the story. You have to read it to find out.
Of course.
But the characters build diversity and strong female characters. Yeah, what's not to love? For me, if I was a kid, I would have loved this kind of series. I was into horses, so dragons for me are kind of a natural segue because you ride dragons, you fly, and I always dreamed of
They're
a flying
just bigger
horse.
and they fly.
More powerful, and fire comes out.
Yeah.
Generally, in my book, there's good and bad dragons, and each character has their own dragon, and it has a superpower.
Let's just face it. Dragons have always been in.
Yes.
But like with the Game of Thrones, right? With like How to Teach a Dragon.
Right.
And it's the year of the dragon. It's just like this year is definitely like dragons. And like I am not complaining at all whatsoever. Like give me more dragons.
Great. Well, I'll tell you what, if one little secret about these 2 books, What Color's Your Dragon, the picture book, and the Moonlit Dragon that is in the back. There's a coloring page in the back of the book.
You're like a genius. You know what I mean?
No, I
don't even have kids. The thing is, I'm like the cool auntie.
Exactly.
They call me tita in my culture.
Right.
So it's like I said, it's just like I've known them. They've grown now. They're like teens now.
Right.
Because at the beginning, my nephews are not book readers, which frustrate my sister because we're like such big things. And I told her, it's just like, well, you have to give them a chance to find something that they're interested in. That's the thing, is like, let's just face it, like they have different interests, right now they're obsessed with soccer, but I would never think that like they will get into like the Goosebumps or, Captain Underpants, you know?
Right.
And, that's the thing, it's just that it's not that kids are not into reading. Mm-hmm. It's just you have, like everything else, you have to make a connection.
Yes.
And, it's like, you have to make it for them to be interested because they're kids. You know what I mean? It's like, it has to be interesting for them to like really pick them, right?
Yeah. Something has to draw them in, grab them. On that note, before I forget, the first 3 books are on Audible. You can buy them together, you can buy them separately, and I hired an 11-year-old boy that narrated them. He's from England, so he has that fabulous English accent we all
we're-
love.
I know. Come on. We're all sucker for
Niku
that.
Frederique, he's amazing. He did the fabulous job. He will, like, I could listen to him all day long. And I hired him to do it. He did an amazing job. So, you know, we talk about, you know, some children do struggle with reading, but if you're going on a trip or you want to just, you know, have them listen, you know, you don't have to read the book. You can get the Audible books. The fourth book is not on Audible, but the first three are. So there's a solve for that.
Like, I can't remember what my friend has for my goddaughters because, like, she's kind of like a little bit crunchy. So, like, the technology stuff is like, you know, on a time limit.
Right.
So whenever they do, like, whenever we visit, they get to, like, usually in holidays in summer, they get to, like, sleep over to each other's house. And then whenever they go to my nephew's house, they just think, like, it's ridiculous because, like, they get to turn on the TV all day, they get to sleep with it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like it's
Party
more,
time.
It's a children's definitely place.
Right.
And they're just like, what do you mean you can watch it for more than 1 hour on a
Right.
Saturday?
Exactly.
You know.
What?
So, and they have this, I forgot what it was, but, like, it was this little device where, like, it's almost like a little CD player where you put, like, a card on it. And then you can, like, put, like, books on it. And because they usually, like, do, like, road trips. And it's not technically, you know, a phone or a tablet.
Oh, that's cool.
So they have, like, you know, they can listen to it on their headphones. And, like, my friend will go to, like, the library and, like, burn her own stuff because I guess, like, they get a little bit more expensive. So she buys, like, the file. And I think, like, that's also, like, I think because people, I mean, let's face it, we have some crunchy parents. It's not a bad thing, okay? Like, I support all parents. You got to do what you got to do. It's not easy.
Yes.
You know, and I think, like, you know, if they're not into, like, the technology, there's also other ways.
There are.
I mean, of course, like, books are like, I mean, come on, you can just put it in a car.
Right.
It's the best thing. But, like, you know, if you, like I said, it's like with my daughter that has, like, dyslexia, there's other ways to, like, make them, you know, pick their interest and also get them excited about books.
The story.
Yeah, because, like, now if you think about it, it's just like, you know, I mean, kids are probably looking at us like, oh my God, like, you, like, actually bought, like, an actual book in, like, a store.
What?
Like, what is that all about? Like, what is it, like the 90s or something? You know, like, the whole idea of, like, not being able to purchase everything in your device, right? Is kind of interesting.
Well, they are on Kindle. They're all on Kindle. These three are on Audible. So whatever format you like, hopefully I've made it accessible. That's what I've tried to do. So, and the whole family. So on that Audible, I mean, a lot of adults get hooked on my books. I'm just telling you guys, the characters. So they should be appropriate pretty much
For all
outside
ages,
for all
yeah.
ages, and adults will probably enjoy the stories, and that adults, hopefully, especially parents and grandparents, will be happy about some of the lessons that get taught through the dragons, about, you know, real strong values, and, like I said, love, friendship, loyalty, you know, overcoming your fears, and strong girl characters that can imagine themselves riding dragons. And I can't give it away, so I better stop with the girls there.
So, what is the fastest one, like, of all the books that, like, you actually, like, had it, like, the story, and because you're an author, so like, sometimes, like, it just comes to you, like, it's just like, it's just a creation, just like, it just comes pouring.
Right.
So, like, which of the books you think are just like, it kind of just like, it even
This first book.
write itself, the
The
first
first
one.
book, because I had started the story here and knew the characters and had basically written the story as it is here, but I had to shorten it and cut it down to picture books, and I was like, oh, I lost all these parts, because in a picture book you can't tell everything. You have to show, not tell, and then but there
It'd
might
be like this thick.
yeah, but and so I took all of that, and then I went, oh, I can do that. I can write it in a chapter book, and I can develop the characters and write all those things that I had in my mind that didn't show up. So the first book, I would say, they certainly don't write themselves, but I would say it was the fastest and easiest because I had done a lot of the work already and a lot of the story.
That's so great. And it's like, you know, it's not, I'm saying that like a Sea Dragon. Summer is coming up, people.
Right?
I mean, there's gonna be road trips. There's gonna be days where you just need a break, you know? And it's just like, you know, they gotta get busy. Summer reading,
Yes.
you know? And
Yes.
it's like, that's like the gap that, I mean, it's hard because like even my nephews, I'm like, why would I wanna read in the summer?
What I read in the summer? I'm not in school.
You know, but like I said, it's just like if you like once like they get into that obsession,
Yes.
it's
That's a
like
good word for
that's
it.
all like that's all we
They
want to
wanna do.
consume, you know. And I think, like I said, it's just like it's also awesome that like it's like graduating, like you know, preschool,
Yes.
kindergarten,
Yes.
first grade, second grade, third grade. You know what I mean?
Middle school.
Yeah. So it's like they're not getting overwhelmed of like, you know, because that's the hard part. It doesn't matter if it's like reading or math, right? For children, like once they
Yes.
get frustrated, they feel like they're behind. They feel like, oh, like I was good before. I don't know what happened.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. And the fact that's like you still have pictures on them, you know, they're not like completely lost. Because to go from, like you said, it's just like, even not just picture book, like even for Dr. Seuss, where there's like some words, right? To go from there to like all words,
It's overwhelming
it
for
can
a
get
lot of
overwhelming.
children.
Yeah, and it's
Yes.
if you think about it, it's just like, oh no, you know, kids are like, no. It's like, let's just be honest. It's like there is a need for it
Yes.
because not everybody, you know, not everybody is able to just like read like normal.
Right, right.
You
It
know?
is, and I do understand that. I've done a couple of things to help besides Audible. If you go to my website, cynthiastarbooks.com, there's up at the top, there's a free gift one and a free gift two. So to get the whole family going, and something fun you could do anytime for the summer is you can download a PDF of the coloring pages that are in both books.
And you can
So you can print as many as you want, so everybody in the family or the neighbors or the cousins, whoever they can all color their own dragon. And I've had a lot of teachers use it as a class project.
I was thinking, yeah.
They all, you know, they read the book and then they all color their own dragons and then they all post them on Amazon. And that was my dream, was that I saw everybody, like the story is that everybody has a dragon. You just don't know it, you can't see it. You have to believe it first before you can see your dragon. And so if you had a real dragon, what color would it be? And so you can color it, and then in the second book, David names his dragon, first what color, and then he finds his dragon, then he names his dragon, and then his dragon gets a superpower when he names it. So there's also a page where you can name your own dragon, color your dragon, and then pick a superpower, which is really cool.
Which is like big now. I mean, let's face it. It's all about
Superpowers,
now. I mean,
right?
come on.
Superpowers. So that's a really fun thing. And like I said, you can download them, and everybody in the family can. And who doesn't want to color their own dragon? Because then pretty soon people are like, oh, well, if I had a dragon, it would be purple and gold and this. Well, let's color it together. So it can be a really fun family.
Like a group activity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, like, it's not too complicated that, like, not anyone can join. You
Yep,
know?
simple.
And I know. It's just like, I think that's amazing. Please check out Cynthia through her website. She's on her social media for her Facebook and Instagram. And also, if you're any local businesses, or it doesn't have to be local, but it would be amazing if you guys come to the show and showcase your events or your business. We would love to have you. But as for now, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.